Have you ever seen an image that seemed to move, even though it was completely still? Or looked at a picture that made you question whether your eyes were deceiving you? If you stay with me until the end of this video, you'll discover not only why your brain falls for these illusions, but also how scientists use them to understand the inner workings of perception, artificial intelligence, and even human consciousness itself. Optical illusions are more than just fun tricks or viral images. They reveal something deeper about how our brains process information. Every time you look at the world around you, your brain is working behind the scenes, filtering, interpreting, and even filling in gaps where necessary. Most of the time, this process is incredibly efficient, but sometimes it gets things spectacularly wrong, and that's where optical illusions come in. How does our brain process visual information? To understand why illusions occur, we need to first explore how our brain interprets what we see. When light enters our eyes, it passes through the cornea and lens, which focus it onto the retina at the back of the eye. Here, light-sensitive cells convert it into electrical signals that travel via the optic nerve to the brain's visual cortex. But here's the surprising part: your brain doesn't receive a complete, high-resolution picture like a camera would. Instead, it gets fragmented pieces of information, which it then reconstructs based on experience, context, and assumptions. This means that much of what we see is actually an interpretation, not a direct recording of reality. Types of optical illusions and how they work. There are several types of optical illusions, each revealing different aspects of how our visual system functions. Let's take a look at some of the most intriguing ones. 1. Literal optical illusions. These illusions occur when our brain interprets an image in two or more ways. A famous example is the young woman and old woman illusion. Depending on how your brain processes the contours, you might see a young lady with her head turned away or an elderly woman with a large nose and a scarf. Another great example is the duck-rabbit illusion, in which one image can be seen as either a duck or a rabbit depending on your perspective. Your brain tries to switch between interpretations, revealing how perception is often a flexible process rather than a fixed one. 2. Physiological optical illusions. These illusions are caused by excessive stimulation of the eyes or brain. Have you ever stared at a bright light for a few seconds and then seen a lingering afterimage? That's a physiological illusion at work. A classic example is the Hermann grid illusion, where gray dots appear at the intersections of a black and white grid, even though they aren't really there. This happens because of how the retina processes contrast and brightness. Another fascinating example is the rotating snakes illusion, in which still images appear to move due to the way our eyes process color contrasts and edge detection. 3. Cognitive optical illusions. These illusions trick the brain by exploiting its natural tendencies for pattern recognition and depth perception. The Muller-Lyer illusion is a famous example, where two identical lines appear to be of different lengths simply because of the arrow-like ends attached to them. Another mind-bending example is the checker shadow illusion, where the squares of the same color look completely different because of the surrounding shadows and context. This demonstrates how our brain uses shading and contrast to determine depth, sometimes leading to incorrect assumptions. Why do optical illusions occur? Optical illusions occur because our brain relies on shortcuts to process information efficiently. Here are some key reasons why they happen. Context matters. The surrounding environment influences how we interpret an image. A gray square can look darker or lighter depending on what's around it. Pattern recognition. Our brain loves to find patterns, even when they don't exist. This is why we sometimes see faces in clouds or objects in abstract shapes. Depth perception rules. Our brain uses cues like shadows, size, and perspective to determine distance. Sometimes these cues can be manipulated to create impossible objects like the famous Penrose triangle. Motion adaptation. Some illusions create a sense of motion where there is none by tricking our peripheral vision and motion-detecting neurons. The role of optical illusions in science and technology. Optical illusions aren't just a source of amusement, they have important applications in science, medicine, and technology. 1. Studying perception disorders, scientists study illusions to understand how the brain processes visual information. This research has helped in diagnosing and treating conditions like dyslexia, schizophrenia, and even visual impairments, too. Artificial intelligence and machine vision. Researchers use optical illusions to teach machines how to see like humans. By understanding how our brains misinterpret visual information, scientists can improve computer vision systems used in self-driving cars, facial recognition, and robotics. 3. Entertainment and design. The film and video game industries use illusions to create depth, motion effects, and 3D environments. Artists like MC. Escher have used illusions to create mind-bending artwork that challenges our perception of space and reality. Final thoughts: what can we learn from optical illusions? Optical illusions reveal that what we perceive isn't always the truth, it's just our brain's best guess based on limited information. They teach us that reality is often more subjective than we think, shaped by our experiences, assumptions, and cognitive biases. So, the next time you see an illusion that makes you question your own eyes, remember, your brain is doing its best to make sense of the world, even if it sometimes gets it completely wrong. If you found this exploration into the science of perception fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to SCI Discovery Chronicles for more mind-blowing content. Let us know in the comments which illusion surprised you the most. See you in the next one.